add some water. Alright, that's pretty obvious. Is it soluble in water? Can you tell? There's clearly layers there. That's hexane. Now this slightly more yellow liquid is hexene, cyclohexene with an E. I'm going to add some water. Now, there's no layer. Oh yeah, there is. See that? Slowly separating again. So that's part A, number 1. I think the results are pretty obvious there. Okay, now part A, question 2. I've put 2 drops of each on there, and I'm going to light them and look at what happens. Down the colour of the flame, the smoke and the soot. Can you see any soot in there? That's hexane. And hexene, can you see? There is definitely, I don't know if you can see it, there's a slight bit of discoloration there. So this one has some soot, cyclohexane, no soot. Okay, now part 3, or 3 of part A. I've got a centimetre of cyclohexene and a centimetre of cyclohexane. Oops, there we go. So I don't know if you can see, but the cyclohexene is slightly yellower than the cyclohexane. Okay, now it says to add 2 drops of iodine solution. I'm going to use bromine water instead. So instead of iodine solution, I'm using bromine water. Okay? So 2 drops of that. Alright. So I'm adding 2 drops of bromine water. Check on them in 5 minutes. I'm going to skip all of part B for now because I couldn't get my hands on any chloroalkanes. There's some coming in the mail, but you know, for now we're skipping part B. Moving on to part C. Alright, I'm going to show you part C, number 1. So it's 5 drops of ethanol. It's just kind of come off there. But 5 drops of ethanol. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, that was a bit over, but it doesn't really matter. So there's my ethanol and 10 drops of deionized water. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, now the question is the saturated alkanol soluble in water? Can you see that? Can you see any separation of liquids, or is it soluble? I think that's pretty obvious. Is ethanol soluble in water? Now I'm going to test it with litmus paper. So we'll go with blue litmus paper first. Alright, testing with blue litmus paper. Does that look like it's changed colour? I'll just put it down there. Ooh. And now I'm going to test with red litmus paper. So here's my red litmus paper. Sticking it in. Alright, so ethanol in water. 1, is it soluble? 2, does it have any reactions on litmus paper? Doesn't really, they both just look kind of wet. Okay, that's part C, number 1. Okay, number 2, we're going to add 4 drops of glacial acetic acid to 8 drops of ethanol. So I'll get my 8 drops of ethanol ready. So there's my 8 drops of ethanol. Now I'm going to add 4 drops of this glacial acetic acid. Ethanol and glacial acetic acid. Doesn't look like much is happening yet. Ethanol, glacial acetic acid. Then we have to add 1 drop of sulfuric acid. Drop. And then we have to heat it in hot water for 2 minutes. So here's my really hot water. I'm going to put it in there for a bit, and then we're going to pour it into a beaker of cold water. Okay, so that's my cold water ready to go. Now let's move on to number 3 of part C. Alright, so part number 3 of C, 5 drops of ethanol, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, might put a little more in, 10 drops of 1 molar sulfuric acid, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 2 drops of potassium permanganate solution. Heat this for 2 minutes and look at a color change. So we're going to really look at that color, and now I'm going to heat it for 2 minutes. But before I do that, I thought I would pour this one. So this is our acetic acid, ethanol, sulfuric acid, and now it's been heated for 2 minutes. Now I'm going to pour it into this cold one and smell it. Well, it says it's meant to smell fruity, but I can just, it smells like nail polish remover. Fruity nail polish remover. Okay. Okay, so hot water, remember the color? Oh wow, that's just changing before your eyes. So this is the ethanol, sulfuric acid, and potassium permanganate solution. and I put it in hot water. There you go. I'll put that aside. I'm going to show you as well our reactions of cyclohexene, cyclohexane with bromine water. Alrighty, so these have been sitting in sunlight for a bit. This is the hexane and bromine water. So I don't know if you can see, there's that tiny bit of unmixed bromine water there. But it does look like a different colour to when it started. That's the hexane. And the hexene. Looks like it's all kind of mixed. Oh, there's that bit that's not soluble. Can you see that? So that's the hexene after sitting in sunlight with bromine water. Oh, and also I wanted to show you, that's that one from part C3. The potassium permanganate in warm water has gone completely colourless. There you go. Alright, this is part D. So part D, shake 5 drops of glacial acetic acid into 10 drops of distilled water. So distilled water, deionized water. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 5 drops of acetic acid. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is it soluble in water? That looks pretty soluble to me. You can't see an obvious interface there. It looks very soluble. Now we're going to test it with litmus paper. Red and blue litmus paper. So this is the red litmus paper. Red and blue. Alright, it definitely looks like there's been clear reaction there. Blue litmus paper has turned red. Red litmus paper has just gotten wet. Okay, now we have to add a small quantity of sodium hydrogen carbonate, which is sodium bicarb, and let's see what happens. Record those observations. There was definitely a reaction there.